and we have learned a term force majeure while studying the contract law classes in our law school. Today, we have the honor and privilege to be with us again, Shri Chetan Mittal Senior Advocate, Assistant Solicitor General Union of India, who is with us to tell us about the topic force majeure during the global pandemic times. He will speak about how the people are affected, how the advocates are affected, how the industry, the business, and how to tackle it all. We will be hearing from him soon. Though he needs no introduction, everybody knows him very well, but still a brief formal introduction I will give. Chetanji is a true Chandigarhian, born in 1969 in Chandigarh. He did his schooling from DAV school at Chandigarh. Then he graduated in commerce from Punjab University in 1988 and did his LLB in 1991 again from Punjab University, Chandigarh. In the year 1991 itself, he joined the profession. He practiced even in trial court at Chandigarh and then joined the High Court. Very soon he excelled in all the fields of law and soon was appointed as Additional Advocate General within 10 years of practice in 2001 and once again in 2007, and he remained till 2011 as Additional Advocate General Punjab. In 2014, he was appointed as the Assistant Solicitor General of India and is continuing on same post till now. Now, this was a formal introduction. Now we are in an informal webinar, so I will also give an informal introduction. Friends, in our High Court, if you are looking for a friend, philosopher and guide, there is only one person I can point to, Shri Chetan Mittal. You go to him for any discussion, any advice, and he will guide you a very efficient advocate he is, but a very noble, very gentle person he is. He helps a lot, not only to young advocates, but everybody who comes to him. Even in Chandigarh, he is a known name among public. Everybody knows him. Chetanji, when I started practice in 2004, I came in his contact. I know him since 2004, but my family and his family are known for years altogether. So it is a very proud privilege that he himself advised us to have a talk on this topic, and then we got him only that you should guide us on this topic. So I welcome Chetan Mittalji to speak for us on this topic. Chetanji.
In an informal webinar, this kind of introduction is too formal for me. See, when the pandemic occurred, till now, from March, April, May, June, July, we were hoping that things will improve. Maybe this month, some people were believing on the predictions of astrologer also. So we all have been talking about this, that this pandemic will end. There is a lot of debate also that this appearance will start or not. There are issues with regard to lawyers, which are very new to the profession, which have a very limited practice. And even in the society, there are people which I will say lower middle class. So everybody is worried about the situation which we are today. And we have to be worried. It's not that somebody is very brave and he will say, no, I will go through this situation and all. Why I'm referring to this? Today's topic is somehow related with the same situation. We are lawyers, we will be interpreting this in a legal way. But if we put across this towards the society, because I always says this is a beautiful profession where we are close to the problems of the society also, close to our problems also, and then we are one. We are going to same building every day. We see each other growing also. In spite of that, we are together. We are a small reflection of the society. When this pandemic started, the first query which I posed to everybody in my office, I have few youngsters, there is another group which we started few months back when this pandemic came. Youngsters who have come out of profession, or one or two students also, some of them are part of that group also, that we should be aware of what is happening in law. That is equivalent to what is happening in society. You will always link two situations. Why new law comes? This something has happened in the society over a period of time. So therefore that situation has arisen. So in the beginning itself, pandemic, the first and foremost thing which everybody started telling to youngster, do you know what is force majeure? Do you know what will be the consequences of all these things? You must have read all these things in various webinars or heard or some articles on this. I am not going into the nitty-gritties of what is force majeure, French word, whatever. Over a period of time, 2-3 months, we are in a situation. Will be linking this with the present scenario. It's an informal webinar, so therefore I am not strictly going formal on law also. Let me be very clear. This informal webinar is purely discussion and interface and all that should, and therefore I always tell Padamji and Karan and Vishal that these kinds of webinars should continue after the pandemic also. This is how we meet. It's a wonderful thing. We are part of one bar, and where we meet, we come across on the corridors, and we don't meet like this, or we will meet over a dinner or so. Why not to have discussion kind of this? So I will be keeping this in like a discussion point of view. Broadly, when it started, two headings I will say. First of all, any client coming to you, you will say, where is the clause? Whether there is a clause in the agreement or not. Existence of clause. Then we will go into whether existence of clause is there. This was the last clause which we will read in the contract. Oh, ye to hai, pada hai yaar, kahin, forget it. We will not even read that. And normally we will find act of God, strikes, and riots and all covering this force majeure. There is one important clause which I am referring to, any other act. So I will be saying any other act will cover the situation which we are. This is a pandemic situation and all. Therefore, any other act, you must, first of all, whether there is a clause and then any other act is prescribed or not. Then there is a force majeure clause. Most of the contracts which are drafted in the northern part in our area are very plain and simple. If you will go into the corporate sector, if you are working there, if you have worked there are lots of paras, beautifully drafted with very good headings. They will definitely put this force majeure. But in our part of the country, especially in our area, we draft very simple agreements. We don't go into all those language and very polished language or very flowery language or what headings and all, because they are drafted by people who are paid very high for high contracts. So our contracts are very simple. So most of the time you will not find this clause in the agreement. Then how to look into this? That is the second question. If you read any contract, in the beginning we raise whereas, and whereas. What is that? We read, and then the terms and conditions starts. Whereas is the representations that I am representing to the other side, or the other side is representing to the first party, that the property is free from encumbrances, property is done from so and so, it is everything. So those representation can also be beneficial for invoking force majeure event. So force majeure itself may not be a clause, but you can gather from the circumstances that parties have presumed the continuation of the circumstances when the agreement was executed, assured by one. Assumptions and presumption, assumption clause is all also there. So these kinds of things can be gathered from other clauses also. First, force majeure. Second, these kind of clauses. If you don't find anything out of that, I have disclosed this fact in the earlier webinars. I don't know whether you are aware of or not. That is section 37 of the Contract Act. I will read those 4 lines. This is a very, very important, which we normally skip, because most of the litigation which I have seen from April is in or around this force majeure. Because Padamji told now that I have chosen this. So many young lawyers told me that this is an old topic. This is not an old topic. This is the current topic which is going on. All litigation in the High Court everywhere is still continuing. New kind of cases are coming. So section 37 of the Contract Act says the parties to contract must either perform or offer to perform their respective promises unless such performance is dispensed with or excused under the provision of this act. Last 3 words, or any other law. So, or any other law is the determining factor. Now, pandemic itself is not a force majeure. The force majeure event is lockdown. The force majeure event cannot be the pandemic. The resultant effect is lockdown. Now, from where the lockdown has been ordered, we have to go as a lawyer to determine its origin. That is Disaster Management Act. If you will read all the notifications which have been issued by the center and state, whether some are within the jurisdiction of central government, sometimes state, if you will read the act, and we must read the act, we will understand its scope. Sometimes this may come in before the court, and some SLPs have original jurisdiction writ petitions have been filed where the government has ordered for minimum payment of wages to the labor and all, challenging that what is the scope of the Disaster Management Act. I am not going into that question. All this lockdown has been done by the provision of law. So what if we have been prohibited, one party has been prohibited, is under the by law. That is Disaster Management Act and the orders passed by the Home Ministry and relevant thing. So this is, we have to examine if any client comes from this point of view, whether there is a clause, whether there are other clauses, and then from the point of view of section 37 of the Contract Act. One thing you will always find in all your judgments previous to pandemic, if you will go into force majeure, the judgment you will always find is Energy Watchdog versus CERC 2017, volume 14, SCC, page 80. Justice Nariman's judgment. And relying upon 68 and all those judgments, and they have narrowed down the scope of force majeure a lot. So all those judgments prior to this pandemic can be, we can say that has been summarized, but that is only talking about the force majeure clause or an event. That judgment doesn't cover, and that is only once. It is very easy to say from the client's perspective that no, this event is not covered, but the difficulty rises on the other side. So I am basically informing you from the other side only, that where you can find all these 3 things. So 3 things we have to see, and then we have to guide any affected party in the society, whether as a lawyer or as a friend or anybody, because everybody is having an impact on this, on account of this, around you, everybody. Now the impact of such an event can be threefold. One is complete termination of the contract, where all these judgments discuss about section 56, whether you will take 2017 Supreme Court, which you know impossibility of the act, which becomes impossible by reason of some event. So all discussion you will find in section 56, which result into complete termination of the contract. Second is partial failure of people. Suppose part of the it could not be performed, part has been performed already. So there can be situation that contract was for 2 years, you have performed 75% of the work, 25% could not be performed. So that is the another impact, the part performance is this. Third is the most important, is the suspension and extension of the contracts. So if suppose you was to perform by 30th of April and by virtue of this pandemic, you have not been able to perform from say 24th March till 30th of April. Can it be extended? This period can be suspended and it can be added when the lockdown opened and these kind of activities started. This is the third impact, meaning thereby temporarily treating this period as suspended and giving an extension. That will also depend upon the nature of the contract. And in Vedanta case, which is still, there was the first case which came up before Delhi High Court, which was talk of lots of debates, was in the Vedanta's case. Vedanta has gone in appeal. There it has been, imposition has been treated as a force measure. But on the facts, the Delhi High Court has declined, finally saying that this pandemic has nothing to do with the performance of the contract. But this has been treated to be a situation. The default was prior to pandemic. Because from what I am telling, from March, April, people have started taking disadvantage of this sources, that I could not perform of this because of this reason and all. So without going into any other nitty-gritties, the kind of litigation which we have seen in these last 3-4 months is the performance of the contracts and the disputes arising, number one. Number two, related to commercial contracts, is the encashment of the bank guarantees. There is a Delhi High Court series of judgments coming every day. There are Bombay High Court coming on this. Our High Court also, there are some interim orders being passed. So performance of the contract relatable to encashment of the bank guarantee. Again, it is interlinked. Whether performance has fallen in the period of pandemic, whether it was dependent upon this, or whether the default is prior to pandemic. So all these are questions which have been deliberated now in various judgments. Somewhere it has been declined and somewhere it has been granted also. So bank guarantees, encashment, stay is a big thing. Because everybody who has worked on this side knows how difficult it is. But because of this pandemic situation, courts have changed their mind. Whereas we say it's an independent contract, whether you have unconditional bank guarantee and all. In spite of that, courts have come to the rescue of the person who has not been able to perform because of this pandemic situation. And that is the best example that law has changed with this situation. Like I always said, we have to change with the situation which has occurred from March. We have to change our habits. We have to change our wake-up. Even the courts have started working in this field by taking the view on equitable principles or whatever you may say. So one field which we must study is the bank guarantee laws. There are judgments now on this which has come in 3 months. The second is related to, which I have found out, is the minimum electricity charges dispute. Lots of you must have heard, even in Chandigarh, the bills have been extended and all. The industry which were paying huge minimum electricity charges, there is lots of dispute. Punjab has exempted, Haryana is partially exempted. The electricity utility services of Punjab, Haryana has invoked force measure from the electricity supplier. Now the person's industry is saying, if you can invoke force measure against your supplier, so please give that to us also. So this kind of litigation is a result of force measure. Now third is the force measure orders like payment of wages, not to with the tenant, whereas labor or workman is there. Those, I think things have slightly passed because that was immediate when it was lockdown was there, and it has got settled. Somebody challenged it in the Supreme Court that you can't do it. It is against, because it is Padam's field. Padam Khan can tell better that what is the provision of retrenchment and all. The people have been advising the industrial units, don't do this. You can have still power under 25F and all, whatever. That is a separate debate. So this kind of dispute is also a result of this force majeure event or whatever event you may call. Another is the mostly which I am seeing is fees, school fees and colleges fees. So all these disputes are new to our profession. So if you will start applying your mind, all this litigation is because of this. So it has not become an old topic. I am saying it is becoming now practically in everybody's life, in everybody's profession. This fee issue is arising out of the same. Whether it is school, whether unaided, whether institutes, whether universities. So I have dealt with certain litigation. The demand is genuine. Balance has to be made. This is my view. You have to, the schools and the university have to pay to the staff, every class 4, to everybody. But there are certain fees, expenses like electricity bill, all other things relatable to which is normally it's not occurring. So that profiteering part has to be given to the benefit to the students. That's the whole issue. But here also, under the Disaster Management Act, the states have passed the orders. So where those orders have not been passed under the Disaster Management Act, like Punjab has passed under for the unaided school. What about the universities? What about the colleges? There's no order. So there's another legal field opening, that under which thing you will cover this, how you will cover those on behalf of the students, and how you will defend that you have a right not to pay. So this is also part of this event, which will be extended by the courts. Another issue is the RERA disputes, the allotee dispute, their agreements, the RERA extending the date. Punjab is passing an order. Our High Court has stayed the entire order itself. Whereas in RERA Act, there is already a provision. If you look into RERA, there is a provision. So all these things are also because of force majeure. Force majeure is not nowhere defined. It's a simple principle. It is not having anywhere in the Act, no provision. It's a general principle. You will found in the contract, it's a mutual contract. But this principle is now evolving. Now another litigation which Vishal will be more aware of, Vishal Agarwal, that is NCLT jurisdiction. Certain there is an amendment, if I'm not wrong, section 10A has been added, and certain defaults like operational creditors or other creditors have been debarred from filing the petition for 6 months, which is still extendable. So it is also, again, if you will see from this, is again this event, force majeure and its impact. So nobody can go. Where is the alternative remedy? Another webinar I said, go to the commercial courts, which is much better. Why to wait for NCLT? So don't shut your profession that you can't go to NCLT, Vishal. You can go to commercial court and file it there.
And also the MSME Act. That's right.
So all these things have to be seen from various angles. And last but one is the rent matters. Now, till now, because I will be slightly saying about this rent matters, because most of the lawyers have a very difficult case to defend on behalf of the tenants, where non-payment is there. Unfortunately, here 1 or 2 judgments which has come from Delhi or anywhere have not dealt with the situation which we are there. One must understand as a lawyer that the law is ever evolving, and we can't say no, the doors are closed. Luckily, our courts, whether it is High Court, whether it is Supreme Court, in such situations have involved or evolved some or the other system, unless we give some legal backing to this. There is a situation. This is what the comment of the Supreme Court came, and in a Delhi High Court say that we can't go beyond whatever is provided in the provisions. We can't exempt the tenant from payment of rent. The entire question which is coming before everybody is payment of rent. What will happen to payment? Most of the cases, as far as I know, Chandigarh city is concerned, is being settled. 70% rent enhanced, 1 month exemption and all, because that is a situation which is relatable to market condition. But what is the legal position? The normal answer of all lawyers is no, you can't do it unless there is an existence of force majeure clause. I have dealt with recently, there was a force majeure clause. Now the question arose in that also, that complete lockdown and partial lockdown. Which period you will have a complete exemption, which you will have a partial exemption. The office hours. If you are utilizing from 9 to 9, a commercial building, or 9 to 8, it was 9 to 5 earlier. So all these disputes are coming up. And there was a force majeure clause. And the parties are not settling. They will benefit some lawyer. They are going to the courts for this purpose because the amount is too high. So this is another field which, though we think nothing for the tenant, but I personally feel there is a scope of that. Once you go through law, you will find something. And the first and the foremost provision which we read in the rent law is section 108. And after reading, everybody says the doors are closed for the tenant. I will read 108 and I will try to tell you something out of it only, that doors are not closed. Kindly read it carefully. Now the situation which they say, if by fire, tempest or flood, or violence of an army or of a mob, or other irresistible force. Now to any other irresistible force will cover, no doubt about it. Any material part of the property be wholly destroyed or rendered substantially and permanently unfit for the purpose for which it was let, the lease shall at the option of the lessee be void. Very interesting. If we divide in this 108 in 2-3 parts, we will understand what they are trying to say. Loss by fire, option of the lessee to whether to declare the lease void. I will just go by that. Fire, pandemic, or any other reason. The option has been given to the lessee. The problem which is creating is the word is permanently unfit. Whether temporary unfit will be covered with the permanent. The plain language suggests answer is no. Answer is no. Everybody is saying no. It's not a temporary, it's a permanent. You have to either cancel the lease, go out of it. No other choice. I am giving you a situation to develop an argument or prepare the case or written statement wherever for the tenant. Suppose on account of pandemic, this situation has arisen, or fire. Forget the pandemic, there is a fire situation. And the tenant opt to continue. What is the obligation of the landlord? To restore the premises back. Till it is restored, whether he is liable to pay rent, whether it will be treated as a permanent unfit. The answer is no. So what will happen to the situation when the tenant opt to continue with the lease, unless it is restored back to the original situation? That is the landlord which has to make arrangements if he doesn't go out of the premises. So we can equate that situation with the present situation. That unless it is restored, it is permanently unfit. Word permanently has to be interpreted by the courts. Suppose in Chandigarh, a state office seal a premises because of the violation on another floor. The second floor is where you are a tenant is sealed also because of that. The problem is with the landlord. You have not done any violation. After 1 year of the contest, the building is restored back. What will be the situation? Whether you are liable to pay rent for this? The answer is no. Because the landlord, because of the act of the third party or any other situation. Take a third situation. It's a very tough field from tenant's point of view, which I am going to tell you today. Suppose part of the buildings or part of the land got destroyed or acquired land under Land Acquisition Act. You have 4 acres of land, 2 acres have come under land acquisition. Whether the lease will come to an end? The answer is no. So part of the building destroyed, you want to continue or whatever. Now the concept which has come somewhere in the law is abatement of rent. Based upon all these principles, old judgments are there, and old judgments sometime in that situation can help us for such kind of argument. And only I will read for that 108C, where somewhere this kind of situation is, I think legislature intend to say or something of that sort. The lessor shall be deemed to contract with the lease lessee that if the latter pays the rent reserved by the lease and performs the contracts binding on the lease, he may hold the property during the time limited by the lease without interruption. So the payment of rent somewhere is related the enjoyment of possession without interruption. So where there is an interruption, where tenant is, we may say it is not because of the landlord, but it is also not because of the tenant. So whether he is liable to pay rent or not can be interpreted under the heading of abatement of rent. The English law, if you will find somewhere, has this concept of abatement of rent. So the doors are not closed for tenant to raise this argument. Something is there to talk about this, and we can say, and coupled with the fact which I have said, in the rent, whereas clauses, presentation, the representation, assumptions, the assumption by both is at the time that it is free from encumbrance, no such situation will arise. So this situation has arisen because of, maybe because of any other reason, but the landlord represented its continuation and both the parties agreed for that. And somewhere in the Local Rent Act also, where you will read the definition of landlord or payment of rent, like in cease to occupy. If you cease to occupy for 4 months without reasonable cause, then you are liable to evict. If you are with reasonable cause, so you can't be evicted. So user of premises is somewhere linked with the rent or landlord-tenant relationship in the Local Rent Act also. But it's a very, very tough field from, again, I am saying tenant point of view, but somebody should raise it and let it be decided by court, whether our High Court, whether Supreme Court or whatever. Most of the litigation, I think, it will be settled otherwise, where there are genuine difficulties between the landlord and tenant. And there also, I will give a rider to that. All tenants cannot be given the same benefits because certain utilities like banks, government buildings, etc. were allowed to function. So from landlord point of view also, and the landlord point of view is another also. He says, I have given it to lease deed. You can't declare it void from day one. The word is void. So once you have transferred your rights, it can't be said to be void. It is voidable or whatever. So this provision may not apply. Even Section 56 will not be applicable. We will have to be governed by the provisions of Transfer of Property Act. He is liable to pay, and landlords can say, I have taken loan from the bank. I am subject to payment of that. Bank is not exempting me. Where are the equities in this case? So all these will be subject matter of case-to-case discussion or odds. But there is something of that sort which is there in the, even for landlord and tenant situation. So I will only, in the end, will say that all the litigation which is coming before the courts and everywhere is dependent or offshoot of force majeure clause, we should read each and every contract, each and every provision relatable to that dispute. I am sure you will find something of that sort which the legislature or law or contract act or the contract itself has foreseen for such a situation. So I will be closing this. I have not taken, I've taken a lot of time, I think. So I am not going into the details. There are notifications of the Government of India where they have declared it to be a force majeure situation. Finance Ministry has declared it. So that dispute, you need not to be worried. Government of India is recognizing it as a force majeure event. And even the states in many cases have, while giving the benefit or extension of contracts, have admitted that it is a force majeure event. At least we need not to go into that question that it is a force majeure event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very wonderful session on force majeure. You gave us an insight on all possible aspects. We never thought that you would cover the issues with regard to school fee and rent also, because largely force majeure is considered as a litigation pertaining to the corporate sector and somewhat limited to metro cities like Delhi, Mumbai and Chennai. Continuing with our tradition of a healthy discussion, I would invite questions from our viewers on Zoom as well as on Facebook, those who are viewing us. We have a question from Captain Sandeep Bansal. Mr. Bansal, please go ahead with your question. You can unmute yourself.
Chetan ji, good evening.
Good evening. Captain Saab is there. He is himself is already on this.
कैसे आप?
बिल्कुल ठीक है भैया.
अच्छा सर, मेरा एक छोटा सा सवाल है, थोड़ा मतलब maybe not very much related to today's topic, but then like we have certain institutions. Say I'll talk particularly about Army institutions, Army Public School and institutes हैं हमारी, where we have employed many people on contract basis. So
Yes.
their contracts, some of them expired in April or May or June. So my only question is, if we are not extending the contract, will it come back upon us that during the COVID period or this COVID situation, we have not extended their contracts?
No, it's only humanitarian.
It is only humanitarian, and there is no legal angle involved in that.
There's no legal. As far as I am, because I am also contesting certain cases, there's no such situation like this.
Thank you, sir.
It's only for workmen and labor.
Mhm. Thank you.
The next question is by Mr. Vishal Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, please go ahead with your question.
So thank you. What a lovely session. It feels that I was sitting just opposite to you and not on Zoom. It's so personal and so beautiful hearing you, sir, in fact. So my question would be, in fact, a mixed question of law and fact both. Now, pandemic is a new word to us. We had already heard of it, but never imagined the effect of it. So all the contracts till date, most of us, they only have is force majeure. They don't have the word pandemic at all till date. Now, as you said, that force majeure would only mean lockdown. It would not mean the effect thereafter also. Now, like in today's world, lockdown is mostly over. It's only from like 10 p.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever, but the pandemic is continuing. Now, what would be the effect of this on certain contracts? Be it anything, some people might say that the effect is that we are still not able to earn, or maybe we are still not able to work, even though these official hours are open, we can open it, but still that effect is there. So what would be the effect of that, and how should it be dealt with, according to you?
So I will add one more situation. That is, I said that also earlier, the partial effect of the same. Partial effect is also there. And the situation again will depend, because pandemic itself is not a force majeure event. The lockdown is. Pandemic, the business or anything which is directly affected by virtue of which you could not perform. If you read the normal clauses, the natural calamity, strike, riots, war, etc., it is relatable to your performance. So force majeure can be, for example, somebody can say, like the industry as a whole is affected because of this pandemic. Very interesting. It is not only the lockdown. That situation can also be there, that because of lockdown and this situation, the certain particular industries like hotels and all, that has come down. So that is also, that's why I use very carefully that itself is not the consequences. One is lockdown, other, as you said, absolutely you are right, the situation which has affected the business as a whole. So those situations can be, but subject to a rider, mitigation of loss. If you can partially perform, then you have to, there is a concept of mitigation of loss also in this force measure. So those situations will arise. Very interesting, and these kind of situations are arising. It's not that it has not risen. Like I tell you, in the airport matters, I have been dealing with, though not directly, but somebody took opinion from me. Shops are there, airport is closed. Now the question arises, force measure event has started. There is a clause in the contract, but now the partially it is open. What will happen? The event will not come to an end unless it comes back. This is my view, but that is the law also. It will continue. That is mitigation of loss, because partially it has opened. The situation which was there before March has to be seen.
So it will be like abatement of rent, or maybe that that sort of situation would have to be brought in.
Yes, that's why I'm saying don't close down by reading some article or some judgment, 2017 judgment, Supreme Court saying something. No, it's ever evolving. This situation nobody has foreseen. Law will come on this. I'm sure if we will contest it properly, there will be a judgment.
So we have a question from a very far off area, a union territory of Jammu. Mr. Raina would ask a question. He's a lawyer practicing at Jammu and Kashmir High Court. Mr. Raina.
Great.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for imparting the knowledge on this topic. My question to you is, sir, can the employer whose business has been badly affected due to the current lockdown during this pandemic take umbrella under this force majeure if he stops the salary of his or her employees?
No, this has nothing to do. This is purely a contract between employer and employee. In a private enterprise, the employer-employee relations is totally different. In the government, there is different. If it is a workman, then it is governed by Industrial Dispute Act and all. So this, how the employer will impose this through the court of law, it's a private contract. He cannot go and get a stay because it's a private contract. He can only claim some damages out of it or there is some written agreement between the parties or an appointment letter. And that too also not protected in the private enterprises.
Thank you, sir.
So the next question is by Dr. Jyoti. Dr. Jyoti, please go ahead.
Please unmute yourself.
You can unmute yourself, Dr. Jyoti.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I'm feeling honored to share same platform with you. Sir, my question is, there are contracts between statutory body and government functionary. Can statutory body like university can enforce force majeure against government?
Absolutely. I am giving you the example of Haryana power utilities invoking force majeure against a central electricity supply. There is a force majeure clause in that, and they have invoked it. It's a purely contractual field. There is no bar. If there is a clause, you can 100% invoke it. If there is no clause, even then you can invoke it. If those factors which I have discussed broadly, under that you can, not exactly force majeure, but some other circumstances by naming it differently.
Even government of Maharashtra has invoked the clause to extend the contracts of the government contractors.
Absolutely.
I must appreciate that the
you,
question
sir.
and answer session by our viewers takes the discussion to altogether a new level. The next question is by Mr. P.P. Singh. Mr. Singh, please go ahead.
Hello.
I'm sorry, not Mr. P.P. Singh, it's Madam Madhu P. Singh, if I'm not wrong.
We both are there, so we both can speak. But anyway, hello, how are you, Mr. Chetan?
Absolutely fine.
Nice, very nice talk you have given, and very current issue which is involving everybody. Very nice.
Absolutely.
I have particular issue case which I want to have some views on you from you. One is there is a contractor who is 71 years old. He entered into a contract with the government in the year 2019, and his contract was for 2 years. It is still in currency, but due to now present condition, he is unable to perform because of his age and comorbidity conditions. He wants to walk out of this contract, and he also at the same time wants to have his bank guarantees safely returned. How to proceed? That is the first question which emerges. Should he send a
Yes,
legal notice?
I tell you. That's why in the beginning, the impact of the COVID-19 situation, which I've discussed.
Okay.
Now the question is, if then you have to show if he wants to, there is a termination. You terminate because of COVID-19, you can't do it. Then secondly is the extension. So it will depend upon how much work he has performed, what is the clause in the contract, whether force majeure itself is there, whether the contract itself, because of this present situation, he's a 71 years old, 65 plus is still not permitted to go anywhere. So all those facts and circumstances you can invoke saying it is terminable. But there is a rider. If the other side says, all right, we recognize your difficulty, instead of doing this, we will give you 5 months, 6 months extension, unless the things comes to normal. So though that situation has to be judged, maybe the department agrees, all right, you get it mired, whatever you have done, we will make the payment to you, we will employ somebody else. But as on today, governments normally are extending the contracts.
The question, he is dealing with movement of food grains, which is essential commodity.
Then he can.
So
then it is impossible to perform. And extension of time will not make any difference if it is relatable to the movement of food grains.
So that's what I'm saying. The extension of time will not be possible.
Yes, that's why I said nature of contract. Yes.
His comorbidities and his health conditions and age factor is sufficient to terminate the contract. Under
the wording has to be slightly legal. You can't say age and all. We have to say, I have been prohibited because of COVID-19 situation. I cannot go because 65 and more are not allowed.
Restrictions.
So therefore,
yes, restrictions put under the Pandemic Act.
Yes.
So
that you have to know.
So it's possible. It's possible for him to get his bank guarantees also.
Just go through the terms also. There may be some.
That's true. That's true. But it is very valid ground, I believe.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Chetan. Thank you.
It's one important aspect of informal webinar that here the advisors are not charged. So it's legal advice. Mr. V.K. Sachdeva is another senior member from the bar. He's here with us today. He would like to ask a question.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Sachdeva.
Good evening, Ketan ji.
Good evening.
Sir, one very pertinent question which is bothering me, which I'm sure other friends also might have been confronted with. So we need your advice on to that. There is an agreement or a contract between the bank and a company. It is a one-time settlement agreement which has happened in the month of, say, September. Initial 25% of the amount is paid. 75% of the amount is to be paid in the month of March 2020. It is after 23rd March. We request to the bank to extend the time. Bank says, sorry, cannot be extended. Then ultimately the bank itself, suo moto, extends the time, writes a letter that your time is extended till 30th June 2020 in view of COVID. Now, when 30th June is approaching, we say the pandemic is still, lockdown is still on. We are still affected. The entire earnings or the business is stopped. Therefore, kindly extend the time. And we take a specific ground of the force majeure also. Besides the circulars of the RBI, which have extended the moratorium, 27th March 2020, 17th April 2020, and 23rd May 2020, whereby the period has been extended up to 31st of August 2020. However, the bank, in its own wisdom, or maybe for their own reasons, they have cancelled that contract unilaterally, and they have refused to extend the payment time for making the remaining payment, meaning thereby that the one-time settlement between the company and the bank has come to an end from the bank side. Now, in such a situation, what would be your advice, sir?
Purely going by the legals, and then I will say the other side. If they would not have extended your time earlier on account of COVID-19 situation, the difficulty would have been there on your side, because one-time settlement is not a the contract the way we normally do in a commercial sense. You will understand better than me. It's a discretionary thing based upon some guidelines where they agree and you pay. And it's a relief to the already granted to a person, which is not dependent upon his business. Once you make installments, once you look into all these things, your capacity to pay is also seen. Once you take a loan initially, once the one-time settlement is made, it is always related to generation of funds because the property is mortgaged and all. At the first instance, if the bank would have refused you to extend, your plea would have been very weak. Now they have recognized that somehow, that no, there is a COVID-19 situation, you are unable to pay. But again, the question will arise, whether non-performance or non-payment is relatable to your business or not.
I am in the hospitality industry, sir. One more fact, sir. I am in the hospitality industry, which is still under the lockdown.
Yes. No, the question is the amount which 75% which you was to pay was directly relatable to your business, day-to-day business. That will be the moot point. If it is not, then it will be very difficult. But the positive side in yours is that they have extended it. They have extended it for your industry, like Vishal has posed this question, that it is not only the lockdown, the overall impact on the industry, the hotel industry itself.
Yes, sir.
So that will also count to invoke this kind of argument that, look, it is not the lockdown itself. The impact of lockdown in this particular industry, the impact of lockdown in auto industry, the restaurant industry is still continuing, which they have not determined while making a ground of rejection. They only made a ground of rejection. No, now lockdown is not there. You pay. For me, lockdown is still continuing.
Thank you, sir.
So it is not the lockdown which will be the question. The force majeure event, and under that umbrella, lockdown, the overall impact of the industry and everything.
How my earning capacities have been impacted adversely. That would be the argument to be raised.
You have to annex all that data, the hotel industry which is available, and all those data will be helpful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ethan. Thank you so much.
So the next question is by Gaurav Deep Goyal. Mr. Gaurav, please ask. We would not bother with more questions, sir. There's just 2-3 of them.
No, welcome.
Good evening, sir. I think it is a very small question, but I think it would be affecting many lawyers. What would happen to the subscription? We have already paid all the subscription fees in advance, and everybody is using softwares, and no fresh data came in, something like that. So can you help us? What would be the effect on those things?
Subscription will be very difficult to avoid for the reason the courts are working, whether it is on video conference and all, and subscription of books has no relation with the working of the lawyer. Even a non-lawyer, a corporate lawyer, or everybody, it's not restricted to the lawyers. So it will be very difficult. Yes, of their own they do it. Like yesterday, SCC gave an offer, but that was for their own benefit, that you pay for 4 years, we will give you 1 year free. Subscription will be very difficult. Very, very.
Thank you, sir.
Our bar has otherwise written to Chawla Publications for giving a discount. They've not taken any action though, but our bar has written to it.
I'm sure the next question is by Mr. Nitin Goyal, and it must be with the issues related to school fee, because he's been working consistently on that. Mr. Nitin Goyal, please ask it.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you, Karan. You touched about school fees. I put a little background. You must be knowing about the recent judgments of the High Court.
Yes, yes.
The litigation was mainly between the school managements and the state governments. State governments had certain restrictions over schools for charging tuition fees on the basis of affordability and financial conditions of the parents. In all those cases, contractual rights of the parents were not dealt with. And the High Court has allowed the schools in Haryana and Punjab cases to charge full fees, even transport fees. Now, I have made a new experiment. I have filed a civil suit on behalf of a parent in the district court who has just joined school in the kindergarten. Admission was taken after looking at the school prospectus, the facilities, physical classrooms, etc. I was not offered admission for online classes. Now the school is offering online classes for a nursery class student, which is absolutely useless. And I had paid 80,000 rupees as admission fees and the fees for the first quarter, after which the parent starts getting notices from the schools, threatening notices, that you keep paying your recurring monthly fees, otherwise we'll impose late fees on you and we'll also strike off the name of a child. So I, as a customer, never accepted partnership in the school. Like I never owned the responsibility to help the school in the time of crisis. I never expressed my permission for buying the online classes. So in this civil suit, the school has now come up with an application under Order 7 Rule 11 for rejection of the suit, mainly on the strength of this judgment of the High Court in the Punjab Pala case. It is yet to be considered by the district court. So what is your advice on this?
I just tell you, the aspect of this fee is based upon, you know, TM Pai's case and everything. That how the concept has come from there. TM Pai and the subsequent judgment, that how the fee has to be fixed and all. Though the word is educational institutions, the word written is educational institutions. Now, what the governments have done, whether it is UP, Punjab and all, they have invoked disaster management. So, as far as your contract or your brochure or your prospectus is concerned, that is one part. The principle which will be underlined, whether under the Disaster Management Act or whether we take the principle of fee committee, is the same, in my view. Whether they are spending on A or B is not the question. How they are justifying. What the UT has done a wonderful job. What UT has done, they have said that you have not complied with, you upload your balance sheets and everything. So they are going on the same concept. My broader principle is, there are certain schools which are not profit making. There are certain schools which were already profit making under a different kind of situation, like outsourcing transportation or whatever. At this stage, we cannot go into all these questions. Payment of salary, they are liable to pay. Payment to teachers, they are liable to pay. You can't say don't pay to the teachers. In private management, they have reduced by 30%, 40%. You can't direct them to pay only 70% to the teachers. So for that, either the Disaster Management Act, whether will be applicable to that extent, telling schools don't pay 100%, pay only 70%. So this kind of situation is there. Now, taking overall situation, to my mind, 20 to 30% expenditure from their tally, whatever details which they can give, either in the civil court or anywhere or in their balance sheets, 30% is gone. 30% is gone. They are not spending at all. So this kind of pandemic situation, whether by virtue of Disaster Management Act, whether on the principle of fee committee, principles that you have to have reasonable profit and all, at least 20 to 30% straight away they can't charge from the students. That is, I'm sure. That principle will be more effective to get a relief. The judgment which you are saying, which has been made applicable in Punjab and Haryana, which is subject matter of LPA, I personally feel apart from one direction, rest is fine. Giving power to somebody to determine the this district education officer, that is absolutely going beyond everything. You give power to somebody. It is the government who will be then interfering on the basis of the direction. Either you should have said each school will give their balance sheet to the DO. DO will publicize, students will give their objection, and then he will pass a speaking order. On one hand, the court has given an opinion and then directed the DO to also. To that extent, I personally feel needs interference by the LPA bench. To that extent only.
So, I'm not on this. I'm not talking about the profiteering part or what TMFI deals with. My question is, as a customer of the school, I mean, if my child is in kindergarten and I can clearly see the schools for at least kindergarten section not opening, the school is not going to
Mr. Goel, I would tell you the address of Mr. Mittal. You can seek an appointment and can further discuss it. It deserves a longer discussion. We would get back on that question. The next question is by Mr. Nilesh Bharatwaj. Sir, before Nilesh asks a question, I would say that it is the informal webinar is the brainchild of Mr. Nilesh, Mr. Vishal Agarwal, and Mr. Padamkant Dwivedi. Mr. Nilesh never comes forward. It is for the first time that he is coming on screen and asking something. Mr. Nilesh.
Sir, it's always privilege hearing you, sir. And on Friday evening, taking so long time from you, sir.
I am forgetting these days whether it is Friday, Saturday, and all every day is the same.
Sir, my question is, sir, basically my question is with regard to Army Public School. Government has already given an advisory to the schools that the contracts of teachers should not be cancelled due to pandemic. Now, what is happening in Army Public School is I had a matter to deal with. In Army Public School, the complete fees is paid by the parents quarterly, and thereafter, after the end of the year, the complete fees is reimbursed to them by Army officials, Army authority. Now, what is happening in Army Institute is that like there are 3 sections in 2nd class, 3rd class, 4th class. When there were practical classes were going on at that time, there has to be more teachers to take classes for other different sections. Now, what is happening in pandemic is that all 3 sections classes are taken along with by one teacher only. So now what Army Public School is doing is that they are not renewing the contract of many teachers. Just because of this reason that they say that now we don't want teachers. We can work with lesser teachers. So it is not about that whether the fee has to be paid by persons or no, because we have completely a different scenario where the complete fees is paid back by the Army institutes. Do you think that it is right on the part of Army institutions?
No, if that is the ground for termination of the contract, you are within your right to come to the court. Because once they are getting reimbursement,
yes,
that is from the government fund primarily, I think so.
Yes.
So, and then you can't take this as a ground for that. You are taking the entire fees also from the student, because the reimbursement is not on the expenditure.
Yes.
The reimbursement is on the
parents.
basis of whatever fees you are charging, which has not been reduced. So
yes,
you must be showing some expenditure here and there, and you can rightly ask from their RTI, first of all, that how you are spending the money. So they on this ground they can't. My advice is that even the ground, the file must have been put up and all those, just make sure that this is the only ground for termination of the contract. In the court, they may show no, contractual was over. Like somebody asked me, the contractual is over, whether they can terminate. Please be sure about by that time before coming to the court, because RTI is the best thing. That will disclose that they have terminated their services because of this, not being contractual simpliciter.
May I clarify one thing here? There is no reimbursement to the army schools. They are
No, not
purely
to the school.
self-funded.
It is reimbursement to the parents. The fee
Reimbursement to the
parents. Parents pay
Okay.
fee to the school.
When
thereafter
Captain
the
Bansal is around, you have to be very particular about what you say about army.
Yes, yes.
Nilesh.
Since I am dealing with one of such matter, that is why I know that the reimbursement is made to the parents.
yes,
not
yes,
to the
yes,
school.
yes, but
They
not to
pay-
the school.
Yes,
Obviously.
they pay complete fee to the
Yes,
school,
yes.
and then reimbursement is made to the parents. So
At
in
the end
any
of the
case,
year.
it is a win-win situation for the parents also, for the school also. But it is a bad situation for the teachers because they have to lose their job only because of the reason of pandemic.
Yeah, that was my preliminary question.
Yes.
First question was this only, whether we can terminate
But
the
he has not referred to the army school. So that's why my suggestion to you to file RTI, that is very important.
Sir, please, sir.
We, sir, usually have one thanks note speaker, but since it is you who is here and you're so popular, first Mr. Padam would speak and then Mr. Vishal Agarwal would give a formal
We should
vote of thanks.
forget this
No, no.
Thanksgiving ceremony. Let's
No, I will be just adding in my intro. I missed something. I would like to tell everybody, and everybody knows, I guess, but I would like to thank Mr. Chetan Mittal that he was the counsel in the Chandigarh airport case, and it is because of his efforts. He made all around efforts to make this Chandigarh airport a reality. And now, though we are devoid of its facilities because of the COVID-19, but still, I would on behalf of entire city, I would thank him that he made it a reality. I think. Thank you so much.
No,
sir.
I can only
Even
assure
for-
you one thing. As a
Even for
lawyer,
NCLT.
this NCLT also, there was a problem. In DRT, there was a problem.
Yes.
But I personally feel, please, during this COVID-19, identify the areas lawyer can do anyway, whether on the petitioner side or on the government side. We have this COVID-19 situation, at least speaking for myself, has brought me back. I am taking in a positive sense. How many unnecessary expenditure we will be making? What is the effect of this capitalist thing? We have gone to what extent spending so much on our clothes and everything. So on marriages, functions and all, we have to really rethink. And with regard to our day-to-day performance, day-to-day health issues, as a lawyer, we have to rethink everything. Apart from professional, we have to limit our expenditure also. What we are doing this is what I am telling, we are a mini society. Look at the kind of vehicles we purchase. We take loans. I have heard the old lawyers, if they will take loan, they will try to repay at the earliest. They will not say that it is 5 years, doesn't matter, I am paying the installments and all. This kind of situation may arise in future also. Rather spending on these kind of things by taking loans, please devote time on your children. This is the right time to think. We as a lawyer are so busy from morning till evening because our profession is like this. Even if you have no work, you are sitting in the office. Then we keep on looking at the latest gadgets. In most of the lawyers, my senior friends, in June or December, whenever there will be vacation, they will be either going abroad or spending money on their house or in their office because they have nothing to do. A junior or a newcomer also have started thinking like that. Please check yourself on that again. Try to do something else also. Make life very simple. What we need to eat is, our expenditure is nothing. We eat out and because I was telling that Justice Bari's case, Justice Bari's order was the best order. 70% payment to the teachers and 70% payment of fees. Nitin, I think in the larger perspective, I was very happy with that order. Why? 30% of our expenditure have gone down. Banks are finding it very difficult. Lots of deposit. The entire government service, the government staff, their bill is too high. In another webinar, I don't know whether I told you, very interesting fact I will tell you. They said how this money will come. The Prime Minister has around so many thousand crores. The answer is very simple. The TA and TA for central government employees in some states, they have said they will not pay for 2 years or something of that sort. That bill itself is too large. 40% of the budget, 20,000 crore, which has been. So all that money, the salaries of the government employees and everybody. In government, if you will ask any driver, the salary bill is 50 to 60,000 per month, besides the pension and everything. So all that money is going to the bank now. People are not spending. The problem which we have taken from 91 when we brought this concept of all this foreign investment and everything is the capitalist economy of the worst kind. So this is the time for every lawyer. I can't say for all the lawyers. Some lawyers are really, they are talking to us also directly, indirectly. They are in trouble. We must help them. They are not going to ask for any help from anybody. After all, they are respectable members. But please try to find out if somebody is in difficulty, somebody needs the support. Most welcome, at least as far as I am concerned, but they will not speak. You have to really find out. Secondly, as far as we are people who can afford, we have our own house, we have our vehicle and all. Please, during this time, try to spend less and make it a habit in future. Third is this, what I am saying. Try to find out something which you can write a letter to the advisor, write a letter to some municipal corporation. Don't make an issue, but please start writing and taking interest in all these things. I am trying to write a letter. I am just sharing with you that this cycling part should be made a permanent feature in Chandigarh. This is my idea, that one-way traffic should be there in 17 sector and all, and in the evening from 7 to 9, make it permanent. These kind of things you should do. You will be more satisfied, and I think you will be channelizing your energy better. So this is the time to think about all these things. Nitin has done a wonderful job. I know now when he talked about parents and all, it's a very good initiative which he has taken. No parent will go to the court. Nobody wants. Everybody is feeling a pinch. Some people feel, what is there? This is only small fees. For somebody, it may be a small, but not for everybody. Somebody asked me 1,000 rupees to the farmer. What is this? 500 rupees, 1,000 per month is nothing. And nobody can imagine that in 5 rupees he is having lunch and dinner. For him, 1,000 is a big amount. So this is the time which I say, I have a political background, but I'm just telling you, Modi and COVID has made us realize where the India lives. We were not aware of beyond High Court or our offices where the India lives. So please, this is the time to reinvent yourself. No thanking.
So before we conclude, we have one more question. I just got a request from Mrs. Ruchita Garg. Mrs. Garg, please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I'm very delighted to have a wonderful session with you. I have a very small question, being a parent, and I think that is the question from all the parents. As the cases of school fees are going on, so my question is to that only. The monthly tuition fee is being charged from every parent. So I just want to ask that if the court ordered not to take the annual fees, would that be a solution to whole of the year, or the schools are going to charge the annual fee later on?
No, in some cases in this law institute, I am also taking this as a ground that whether it is postponement of the annual fees and all, whether it will be an exemption. Again, it will be relatable to expenditure. It will be relatable to expenditure, whether under the heading of annual fee they charge or some building fund they charge. Like in one of this law college, they are still charging the building fees, wherever they have 58 crores lying in their FDR and all these kind of allegations the students have made. What is the truth? Matter is pending. Therefore, I'm not commenting. It will all depend upon the same principle, whether they are profiteering or whether they are actually spending.
Mr. Vishal, please extend a vote of thanks.
So thank you, sir. What a wonderful session it has been. But the difficulty is that any number of words and probably any combination of words cannot be sufficient to thank you. It's actually, it's not a formality. I would say so that, and I'd like to share it how. 2 weeks ago, sir called me after one of these sessions, congratulating me and our entire team that you're doing a wonderful job. Seldomly we find such people who do so. And sir, thank you so much. And that day itself, sir had committed that he will conduct another webinar on force majeure. So we actually recognize your contribution to the fraternity, to the bar, and of course to this team informal webinar also. You've been so encouraging. And imagine your aura that I could not see a single person today here yawning, lying, sleeping, or switching off the camera and running away. Everyone was there up, listening to you very attentively. So everyone was very happy. That is your aura. And thank you so much, sir, for being here.
No, we have all learned from the youngsters and our elders. Let me tell you, there's nothing of that sort. Please connect yourself to the reality of the society, even if you have a case. Then you will never fall. Every case, every proposition, link it with the common man, common sense, and the society. You will never get any negative results and negative feeling also about any case.
So it's time to end the session with this smiling face and good advice of sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being here and imparting this knowledge and sharing coming on such a beautiful platform and making it pretty light and informal for everyone at a very healthy discussion.
The name is informal.
Name is informal, and you actually made it informal and enjoyable for everyone, sir. Thank you very much from the team for informal webinar. Please join us for the next webinars as well. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.